shore, we reclaim the land. Grit and glory in every strand. In Jersey Shore, we make our stand.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Jersey Shore podcast. That's S-U-R-E because we are always sure. And one thing that I'm sure about is the two special guests that I have here today that we're going to interview in the first segment. And it's brought to you by the Great America's Pulse Network. So before I get into my monologue and into the interview with these two fine gentlemen, I just want to talk about the breaking news. And the breaking news that we have is Charlie Kirk's killer finally confessed that he actually shot Charlie Kirk. And it's a shame. And the reason why we have this, I want to, before I go into monologue, I want to play this clip first, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. So let's roll that first clip. First clip.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes. Are they going to endanger the planet by not dealing with climate change? Yes.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
She's a genuine danger to American security.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
We have to preserve our democracy, or speak out against lies and hate.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is.
President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy.
Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy and our most fundamental freedoms.
Kamala needs to stop saying that President Trump is a threat to democracy. It's now being received by some unhinged people as a call to action. Enough is enough.
Now, as you see in that clip there, it just shows that, that somebody put that together. It just shows you that it was the latest Joker movie. And you see how an unhinged person like that, hearing all this rhetoric, would think that it's normal to go crazy and shoot somebody. I mean, what happened to Charlie Kirk was nothing short of horrific. An assassination, a vile act that should never, ever be tolerated in a civilized nation. And as tragic as it is, we can't ignore the environment that made something like this possible. The left has spent years pumping out violent rhetoric, painting conservatives as fascists and threats to democracy, as enemies to be destroyed. And yes, our First Amendment protects all speech, but leaders are held to a higher standard. They know their words will influence people. When they weaponize their platform to demonize the right, they create the very atmosphere where violence takes root. This assassination didn't happen in a vacuum. It was fertilized by their rhetoric. And yet, look how the right responded. We prayed. We gathered at vigils. We stood shoulder to shoulder, not with hate in our hearts, but with faith. We came together as families, as communities, as Americans. We mourned, and we asked God for comfort and strength. Now ask yourself, what would the reaction be if the tables were turned? If a left-wing figure was assassinated, would they hold vigils? Would they bow their heads in prayer? No. We all know what would happen. Chaos, riots in the streets, buildings burned, businesses destroyed, innocent people harmed, because that's what we've seen time and time again. That is the difference between the two sides. One believes in faith, order, and a civil society. The other wants to erase God from every part of life and tear down the very social fabric that makes this country strong. The right seeks peace, the left breeds destruction. And this moment should remind us all of something critical. We cannot let the hatred of the left dictate our conduct. We rise above. We honor Charlie Kirk by continuing to fight for truth, for faith, and for the America that he so fiercely defended. This isn't just about politics. It's about what kind of country we want to live in. One rooted in prayer, strength, and faith, or one consumed by chaos, rage, and godlessness. So, all right, everybody. So, welcome to our first Hammer segment here. I have these, like I said, these two fine gentlemen that are running for a council in Deptford. So, we have Erik Anderson here to my right.
Hello. Good evening, everybody.
Put something messed up on my laptop. There we go. Yeah, and Steve Marfia to my left. I'm sorry. I just want to get to my stuff here. So I just want to start off with you guys. Like, can you tell the listeners a little about yourselves? The background, outside of politics. So, if you want to start first, Steve, you can go. And
yeah, absolutely. So I've lived in Deptford for about 10 years now. I currently pastor a young church that's called Legacy 242 on a mission to help people meet, experience, and follow Jesus. My background prior to that was in restaurant management, where I worked my way up, having moved over to New Jersey from California, where I served in the Marine Corps and was originally raised, having met a Jersey girl. I moved out here in 2007. And so I spent a number of years in restaurant management, moved into ministry, and then started a young church in town here. My family and I have lived here for about 10 years now.
Awesome. And Erik, how about yourself?
My name's Erik Anderson. I'm actually a little newer to Deptford. I've been here about 3 to 4 years. Was in pretty much service industry my whole life. Started off in a lot of healthcare. Served in the Navy for 6 years. I was a corpsman in the Navy. So pretty much all my life I've been interacting with people and serving people. Currently, I manage the gun shop in Deptford, the Arsenal Gun Shop. So, and it's still service-based, serving customers, and that's what I like to do, and that's what I love.
Well, I want to say thank you both for your service, as well, ministry and service in military as well. So, Erik, what motivated you to step up and run for office in Deptford now?
I, being actually pretty new to Deptford, I really have never been one to watch and wait for people to change. I've, coming from the military and just the way my parents raised me, I want to make change, and I'm not going to wait for people to change something that I could be doing myself or have a hand in. So I just see, he's still new. I still have been seeing the way Deptford's been run, and there's room for improvement. And I am not the one to just sit back and say, somebody else should do this, or I'm going to wait for somebody to change this. No, this is something that I'm going to take upon myself. And my our running mates here, I think everybody, we are all feel the same way. We're type people. We want something to change, we're going to do it ourselves.
Well, that's what leadership is.
Exactly.
It is. I know. How about yourself, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can identify a lot with that. When you see something needs to change, step up and do something about it. And the reality is that this is the community that we live in, and we want to make it the best that it can possibly be, not just for our neighbors, but for our own families and for the next generation. That matters a lot to me. I just graduated my eldest from high school, and so I have an adult child in my home, which is a new season of life for our family. And that season of life causes me to reevaluate, like, what does it look like, not just to raise a young family, but to think about generations and legacy and the impact that I want a community I live in to have on my own children or grandchildren and our neighbors. And while Deptford's an amazing community, there are so many things about it that are great. We've seen the same leadership doing the same stuff over and over again. And there's a desperate need for change and for a diversity of voices and for a new vision to come in and make some changes that can improve this community. And all of our neighbors feel like they're part of something in this community that they desperately, hopefully, eagerly desire their own kids and grandkids to be part of in the generations to come.
That's right. And then makes the next question pretty easy. Why the Republican Party? What values and principles connected to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'll piggyback right on what I was saying, because it's really individual freedom, smaller, fiscally conservative government, and family values that drive me in large part to align with the Republican Party. I'm not absolutely sold out for either party in the system in the sense, but to align with those, I have shared values in order to affect a better community is a great opportunity. So I'm proud to be running as a Republican for Bedford Township Town Council.
Okay, great. I mean, I would assume you would have somewhat of the same answer, so I can go. I can go to the next question. So, like, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing Bedford right now?
I think what the residents want, without talking to people, because running, we definitely talked to a lot of residents. I think a lot of people want to feel valued in the community. I think they want to make sure that their voice is heard and their problems that they see with the township are being looked into, at least at the bare minimum. And people want to feel safe. I think that one of my main concerns is our first responders in the community. I want to make sure that they have the resources that they need to do their job. And I want them fully staffed and fully capable of, helping the residents, keep the residents safe, help them to get to, hospitals or whatever they need. I think that's one of my main concerns for this, and our main concerns is running. Is I want to make sure that the people are being helped to feel safe and feel like they, can live in this community without any worry.
Okay. I mean, what's the one that hits home for you? Really gonna.
I mean, I would second everything that Erik said in relationship to how important it is that our police department and our local emergency services are well equipped and supported by town council and our local government. But in addition to that, I mean, we've been living in a system that does not allow our residents to vote for their own mayor, and that is something that needs to change. I mean, the fact that the town council of 7 gets to self-select on their own in order to be mayor. And that's led to decades worth of the same people in the same positions doing the same things. And we just think that we need to put the power back into the hands of the people in order that they have the opportunity to vote for those who are representing them and create a closer connection between the mayor, the council, and the everyday resident. So those residents feel like their voice matters and they're involved in a community that they truly love and can be proud of and be part of and be participating in.
No, I mean, I had no idea until our great producer, Sharon, told me that the Denver mayor was appointed and not. I was about a year ago told me that. I've been in West Denver, but I was like, wow, I didn't. How is that a possibility? So, all right. So then, Erik, I would say like property taxes are always on resident minds. So what would your plan be to address affordability? They're the highest in the country.
Exactly. And I think that needs to be investigated, honestly. People, if you're paying so much in property taxes, where's this money going? And where the spending is being spent, and where this money going and being spent? I think that has to be investigated, and I think there can be cuts to, how this money, well, not cuts, but how is this money being spent? Be a lot more efficient. Once you identify that, then sometimes you can cut taxes. I think people, if you spend correctly, there shouldn't be a need to raise taxes. It's all about efficiency and about responsibility. It's being fiscally responsible.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I had some people on my show, the radio show in 91. That was Jack Franken and Peter Sykes were in the first assembly, and we were talking about taxes and how expensive they are.
Yeah.
And I was on the laptop. I was like, let me just look something up, because they brought up that we pay $7.3 billion a year for illegals. We're a sanctuary state. So, and that's straight New Jersey taxpayer money. That's not anything. That's just state taxes. So I did the math during the show. And I think divided. There's 6 million homes in the state of New Jersey. Divide that by that. And if we were a state and we didn't spend all the money on illegals, there are people that get sick in the hospital, and babies, they're school, if we lower everyone's property taxes in the state of New Jersey by over $2,000, if we didn't spend that money, if you look at how much we pay per mile when we reach the road, for no reason, New Jersey's the highest, $1 million a mile, something like that. It's insane. So, what are your thoughts on all that stuff?
I mean, I think that corruption is underlying, but the fact of the matter is that if we don't know where the dollars are going and the precise details of those dollars, what can we say?
Yeah.
Right? We can only make assumptions. And the bottom line is that there's a lack of transparency that exists in our township and the state altogether as far as how our tax dollars are being spent. Families are being crushed under the weight of everyday items and the cost of living, and taxes should be going down, not up. So we want to bring some fiscal responsibility to the township, do some audits with the budgets, and start making some cuts that are consistent with the values of our residents, so that we're prioritizing dollars to the things that matter most to the Bedford residents.
Like a Denver Doge.
Yeah, you can say that.
Denver Doge, Jersey Doge. Bring Doge in all aspects.
So, how do you feel with the people that are now the current council? How do you feel they handled the development, zoning, and local business?
I mean, from what I've seen, they prioritize big business in our area to the neglect of local and small business. I think that we should be giving equal opportunity and free market opportunities to all businesses within the township. The biggest thing with the local council that I've personally experienced and heard from residents myself is just a lack of accessibility and an unwillingness to listen to their concerns and to engage the community. And it just presents like there's this air of almost, bigger than thou. There's just this kind of pride that comes in. And I think we all have this sense that like power has the tendency to corrupt people, right? And you start to get the impression there's such a disconnect there that maybe that's happened to some decent folks who came in with some good intentions to do some good work, and have, for that matter, that may not be as aligned with where they first were when they started the work. And so to see people connect with their town council in such a way, and their mayor in such a way where even folks who are on the opposite side of the political aisle or different parties feel like they're heard and cared about, I think is essential when it comes to local politics. And in our town, that's a priority for us.
No, and Erik, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. So, what are your thoughts with business and growth? You look at like states like Delaware, they did all these tax write-offs. They have all these big corporations there. What do you think about New Jersey maybe doing something like that?
Whatever you,
or even the town, the town.
Yeah, the town. Speaking from, I work in a small business and I manage a small business. Speaking to the owner, what he had to go through in this town to get the shop opened is kind of insane. It was just, it should not be that much red tape. There shouldn't be this much pushback when you're trying to open a business in a town. Like, this town should be wanting more small business in this and to open up. And they should be helping the small business achieve, be successful. There's no reason to, okay, here's your, permits, here's your business you're opening. Help that business succeed. Don't just leave them, by the wayside once they open up. Guide them through. A lot of these people are new first-time business owners. Help them achieve, help them succeed, and help them interact with the community to help their business succeed. I think that's something that gets lost.
Yeah, a lot of people say that New Jersey is the East Coast California now. With all the regulations. Yeah, I know. I wouldn't do some, but governor's race coming up. And Jarrell, make sure out there. And that's one of the main things to that. The Republicans. And I'm hoping that this is going to be a good year, but they referenced Jack Grant in 2021. Only some 2% of the vote. Registered Republicans. That's it. And roughly like 42% of Democrats, I believe, came out to vote. I know. And it'd be nice. And it was like, I understand that not everyone's going to vote, but you would think at least like 90% of registered voters. If we only get like 31, 32%, I mean, when Chris Christie won his re-election, it was a landslide, and 42% of Republicans came out. And that was a landslide. So
it just seems to say that the temperature that tells us is apathetic. People are apathetic about what's going on, and when there's an opportunity for us to stir them up and bring them out. We need to get out the vote. It's essential. Absolutely. And if we do, we'll win. And we'll win across the board throughout the state.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that we need Republicans out to vote. I think now more than ever, especially in light of recent events, I hope that stirs people to come out and start being more active, not to wait for somebody else to, wait for somebody else to vote. Or, I don't need to vote. That's their job. Get out, do what you can, get your vote in, and we will win. If Republicans came out to vote, we will win.
No, absolutely. I always thought of one way. I would say, you got some Democrats, you got sway independents and affiliates. But then when you look at the numbers, you're like, wow, we can just get our own regular voters out to vote. That's number one. I mean, that was amazing when I look at those stats. So I know in a primary in 24, because only 20% of the vote. Wow. So it was bad.
That's shocking.
I think Republicans unfortunately have kind of a defeatist attitude because the Democrats have been in power for so long, especially in the state, that they just, what's the point? What's the point of me going out to vote? They're just going to again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
you're not going to win if you go out.
Yeah. I mean, people think, oh, my vote's not going to count. Well, those numbers, they tell you right there, your vote will count if you go out and vote. So, and also, many residents, they feel government at all levels it doesn't listen. Like, how would you ensure transparency and communication with elected?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing is being responsive. The second thing is the way that we engage in council meetings and invite residents to participate, to voice, to ask open questions, to make space for the kind of dialogue that Charlie Kirk was well known for.
Yeah.
To invite those with ideas or hard questions, to have the space to ask those things, rather than seeing them like an enemy or the other side, like we're seeking to understand and seeking to serve and help. That's exactly what our elected officials should be doing. Seeing other people as neighbors that they're seeking to serve, not as political pawns or enemies or other than people.
And the same question for you, but what would your approach be to keep residents engaged in local decision making?
I want us to be available to the residents. I want the residents to not be intimidated to come to a town meeting, a council meeting. I've been to council meetings, I've been to school board meetings, and unfortunately, the attendance from the residents is so low that I want to encourage people to come out. I think that's not the message that the residents are being given right now, is that they're not, almost like they're not welcome at the meetings. I want to change that. I want residents at the meetings, because how else are we going to know what the residents' concerns are if they're not talking to us? And that's what our main goal is. We want the residents to talk to us so we know what we have to focus on for our job. I want to encourage residents to come out. I want to, make it well known when the meetings are. I want, if we have to do a Zoom meeting, so people don't even have to leave their house, come on. I want to know what the residents want us to do.
Well, I was actually asking the next question. Live streaming council. Yeah, that'd be great. So people can be there and ask questions over a phone call or something like that. That's amazing. But since how do you complement each other as a team, and with candidates and with other candidates? How do you complement each other, and how do you think you're gonna? Do you think that the Republicans need to come together more, like even that your council assembly states and whoever they're running for, all 10 things and help each other out and make sure they support each other?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's no doubt that we need to work together as a team. Mm-hmm. And as new as I am to this whole process, I'm beginning to watch what, from my perspective, looks like a coalescing and a coming together in a way that, based on what I'm hearing, is definitely unique in this cultural moment that we're in. Hands down, just 5 candidates, because it's not just Erik and I that are running for Denver Town Council. There's 3 other candidates running with us on the Republican ticket, and the 5 of us are working together as a team, propping and supporting one another and encouraging one another along the way and being there with and for one another. And we're starting to see that kind of stuff happen with the county, and with the governor as well. Even recent campaigning efforts over the last few weekends. We've watched folks from the governor's campaign come out from Jack Ciattarelli's campaign. And so we're starting to see some engagement between local, county, and state. And I'd love to continue to see that coalesce and there becomes some real teamwork there.